and I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right, good, because I feel the same way. Um, you know, I hate the idea that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to go and trade my defensive player of the year the last couple of years. Now Hargrave is pretty much now the defensive player of the year on the Philadelphia Eagles, but in the past it was Fletcher, and now that the idea of trading Fletcher Cox and you go and get Odell Beckham Jr. and you're not getting any draft compensation, and it's Fletcher for Odell. At this stage in Philadelphia's rebuild, I find it stupid to trade for a 31-year-old receiver who's getting paid $15 million a year, who has a team option the following year, and you are getting a diva who's going to come in, be a prima donna. That's why the Giants ended up trading him away, because they didn't want to deal with what he's going to bring when it comes to the headache mindset of a team and in the locker room when it is a bad team. And this right here in Philadelphia is a bad team. I don't feel like Devontae Smith needs to be anywhere
Agreed.
near. Devontae Smith needs to be nowhere near a receiver like Odell Beckham. I don't even want to see them together in the Pro Bowl,
Yep.
training camp, mini camp, nothing. I don't want to see Devontae Smith working with anybody that is named Odell Beckham Jr. because all he's going to learn is to do one-handed catches and dance with mascots. So keep him away.
Well, one thing you don't have to worry about is the two of them meeting at the Pro Bowl anytime soon, because Odell Beckham's not going to make a Pro Bowl this year, and he'll probably get hurt again next year and not make a Pro Bowl again next year. Devontae Smith might make a Pro Bowl. He might make a Pro Bowl this year. You know, that team hasn't been good. He certainly looks good, though.
With
Maybe not Pro Bowl level yet, but I think at some point in his career that man will make a Pro Bowl. I don't know if Odell Beckham Jr. will ever make a Pro Bowl again.
with
If
with
he's healthy, absolutely he could. But when's the last or next time he's going to be healthy?
with the point I'm trying to make here as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and talking to Philadelphia Eagles fans when I say this on the podcast, it is okay to sell the team. I am fine with you trading our veterans before the trade deadline on Tuesday, but it needs to be for draft picks. I do not want Fletcher Cox traded for a 31-year-old wide receiver. I don't want Lane Johnson traded for a 33-year-old fucking cornerback. I don't want Darius Slay moved for you to go get me somebody who's going to play offensive tackle. If you're going to break apart this team before the trade deadline this year, which is on Tuesday, you're going to trade them for draft pieces only. And when you trade them for draft pieces, this offseason, you go and you fire Howie Roseman and you bring in, what is my guy's name? Who's the guy I'm in love with from ESPN?
You're in love with him, isn't it Riddick?
Thank you, because I forgot his name for a second. Louis Riddick. Okay,
Theo Riddick.
it's Louis.
Or Louis Riddick.
Louis. Theo was
Theo
the running
Riddick
back from the Lions.
Theo Riddick was a former running back for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, so Louis Riddick is somebody that I'm in love with the idea of being a GM, and you give him 17, 18, 19 draft picks, and he comes in and he's got 3 first-round draft picks, 2 second-round draft picks, and he can build the team really the way that he would want to. I think that's what needs to get done. I'm okay with separating myself from veterans this season, but I don't want veterans back in return. It needs to be for young talent or draft pieces. I don't know how you feel in that, Rob, because I know you're in a different situation with the Raiders, but
the Raiders should be buyers at the trade deadline here. If I was the Raiders, I'd be looking to buy at the trade deadline, and what I would be looking to buy is maybe an additional pass rusher to put in the rotation, and some secondary help at corner. We're not bad, but we're not great, and you can always use depth at those spots because injuries do happen, and they're the 2 key pieces of your defense. I think my team has 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates on it right now that nobody's talking about. Denzel Perryman, who's leading the league in tackles and run stuffs, and then Mad Max Crosby, who going into last week was ahead of Aaron Donald in QB pressures, in QB sacks, and in run stuffs. And nobody's talking about him, but Aaron Donald will still probably be leading the votes when they start to come out for these kind of awards, because people vote on a name and not an actual player's numbers. If they did, T.J. Watt would have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. So,
Hey, Las Vegas, I got a question.
but as far as
I want to cut you off real quick. You're Las Vegas, right? You know, we just had this conversation on what you think Las Vegas needs to go get. Howie calls you Tuesday morning, and Howie says, I could trade you Fletcher and Darius Slay right now, but I need a 2 and a 5 this year and a 3 next year.
So I really like Fletcher, and I think one of the biggest needs that the Raiders have is interior linemen, pass rushing. I don't think Fletcher's what he was years ago, but he's still a heck of a player, and he's better than any tackle that I got on my team. I would love Fletcher. I don't know that I love Slay. I also don't know if we can afford the cap for both, because I actually don't know what our cap situation is right now. But I could tell you this: if Howie called me and said, give me a 3rd-round pick for Fletcher Cox, immediately do it. It's an immediate need filled on this team. As far as big play Slay is concerned, the only thing big play about him anymore is the amount of them that he gives up.
Bro, Slay's played really well this year. Look at his numbers. Slay's played really well against the number 1 receivers this year. He also has a few picks. We're not going to bash big play Slay today, all right? I'm on big play Slay side.
I will bash big play Slay.
I'm on big play Slay side.
Look, I'm not calling the man terrible, but he's definitely not what he was in Detroit.
Oh, no.
He's not the same level of corner.
No, I mean, that happens.
But no,
with
that trade you offered, I mean, if you said give me Slay for a 3rd and a 5th this year and a 3rd next year, I'd do it for Cox and Slay.
So if you were to give, if I was Howie and I wanted a 3rd and a 5th this year and a 3rd next year, you would do it. But a 2 and a 5 is out of the question.
I don't know that it's out of the question, but I'm trying not to pay that much for it. I mean, it depends on. It's tough because where are the Raiders at, and
now
where does that put you at salary cap and stuff for possibility to make plays this offseason? Because even with those 2 additions, I don't think that makes the Raiders a Super Bowl contender.
Here's a question for you.
I mean, I think it solidifies us getting to the playoffs, but what matters more, I don't know.
You got a 3rd, so you're dangling this 3rd-round draft pick Tuesday morning, right? And you get on the phone and you talk to Howie, and then you talk to Pittsburgh, and a 3rd-round choice for either
I want
Ingram or Fletcher. Who are you trading your 3rd for?
Oh, man.
You only get one, but it's going to cost you a 3rd-round draft pick. Which one of the 2 are you trading your 3rd-round draft pick for?
Fletcher, because I have 2 guys that are performing right now on the edge. In Ngakoue and Crosby, we have 2 guys, 2 bona fide starters on the edge. It would make Ingram a role player where if I'm bringing Fletcher in, it's for him to immediately start in the center of that line. So I think Fletcher would make a long-term a bigger impact. I think he also would help us hugely with our inability to defend the interior run at times. We're pretty much at this point relying on Kukowski and Perriman to come up and make tackles in the gap instead of getting any real pressure from the interior linemen on the run game. So Fletcher is a monster in the run game. So even if he's not getting to the quarterback like he used to, I think Fletcher Cox makes a bigger impact for the Raiders than Ingram. But if you're a team that doesn't have 2 outside rushers that are performing, then I think you have to go Ingram because the edge rusher is more important.
All right, so you're on the phone with Philadelphia. You're going back and forth. Philly's looking for a 2. You get them to go down to a 3, and then you bring up the name. Or would you bring up the name instead of Fletcher and seeing what the price would be to get Javon Hargrave? Would you be more interested?
Absolutely.
Would you be more interested in dropping a 3rd this year and a 4th next year for Hargrave compared to just dropping a 3rd for Fletcher?
God, yeah. Javon Hargrave right now is playing like one of the top 5 tackles in football. I want Javon Hargrave. He's better on your team right now than Fletcher Cox, and it's not close. Fletcher Cox, when he gets double teamed, it seems like he can't really do anything. I've watched Javon Hargrave get double teamed multiple times this year and flatten both offensive line. That kid plays with a purpose. I said to you during this offseason when you guys picked him up that it was the biggest pickup y'all made in the offseason and that he was going to be a game changer defensively, and he has been. He's been your best player. It's not close. If you asked me for a 2 and a 4 next year or a 2 and a 5 this year, I would do it in a heartbeat. And Javon Hargraves is not as old as Fletcher either.
All right, so now that we got all the defense out the way, I don't feel like there's anybody else defensively that I need to have a conversation with about the Eagles.
I got one for you. Should the Eagles be looking to talk to Houston to trade for Zach Cunningham, their interior linebacker, who's 26-year-old and very talented?
No.
So you think they need to draft? I mean, Howie Roseman would never do it because he doesn't care about linebackers. But
no, I don't want them being
an instant improvement.
I don't want them being buyers at all. I don't want them taking on any salary cap. I don't want them taking on any players.
You said young talent.
Okay.
You said young talent.
When I say
26-year-old star linebacker.
When I say young talent, I'm talking like Aaron Donald. No,
bruh, Aaron Donald ain't young. He's honestly, just talent.
When I say young talent, I mean really the only person. I don't really think there's anybody out there that I would instantly be like, oh, go trade for him. I guess young talent.
I only bring up Cunningham because he is on the market. Houston has made that very clear. They are selling the farm at the trade.
Okay, so when I say young talent, really, if I'm Philadelphia, I'm sitting here today. If I'm not getting draft picks, I'm not trading for a single body except one person in the NFL right now.
Okay.
Except one person.
Deshaun Watson.
And
who already said he will not come to Philadelphia. So.
Correct. He already said he will not come to Philadelphia. So with that being stated, I will not touch anybody at all. I want draft picks, only draft picks.
The Zach Cunningham name I saw come out that Houston has basically publicly said that he's on the market and that they are sellers at the deadline, which you would know if you saw that they traded away Mark Ingram back to New Orleans today, and Mark Ingram was their leading rusher, accounting for more than like 60-some-odd% of their rush yards this season.
See,
they're clearly blowing it up.
With Cunningham, that he is a name of interest for non-Howie Roseman people. But you nailed it right on the head. Howie doesn't value linebackers, so we're not even going to have the conversation about Zach Cunningham because it's not going to happen. So that's why I kind of throw it out the window.
Who do you think's the market for a guy like that?
A guy like Zach Cunningham.
Any particular teams you see
20
that have that deficit at middle linebacker?
26.
Is like a Green Bay interested in a guy like that?
No.
I know they generally don't make trade moves, but
only because
I would look maybe Dallas.
Green Bay getting Jalen Smith.
Looking to get better defensively.
With Green Bay getting Jalen Smith, I feel like they solidified what they wanted to do at linebacker, and now they're done.
Okay, yeah, that is true.
Dallas.
I could see maybe a Dallas going after him to replace.
Dallas has the replacement. Dallas. This is one thing I can say. Dallas has drafted really well the last 2 years, and they have young linebackers that are very good. So I don't feel like Zach Cunningham would be an interest in. In Dallas.
I would assume that Zach Cunningham is going to be pursued by one of the better teams in the league.
A team
at the deadline here that maybe have a deficit at linebacker. Maybe a Cincinnati.
Here's
though they're usually quiet at the trade deadline too. So
here's my team. I guess you'll call them the sleeper team. Team to make the trade for Zach Cunningham. and it won't shock you when I say it, but the New England Patriots.
Okay, yeah, no, that doesn't shock me at all. They love to pick young talent off of other people,
Yeah, and they'll probably get him for a
and
fifth. So
Belichick, yeah, or something ridiculous because Belichick just does like Jedi mind tricks on opposing GMs and gets whoever he wants. He'll trade a guy away for a second round pick and trade back for him a year later for a fifth. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
all right, so get to the offensive side real quick, and then we'll wrap it up because this has been a very long podcast. Offensive side for the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to ask you this question. I know where I stand at the moment. Before the injury against the Raiders, who is the Eagles' best running back? Is it Kenneth Gainwell or is it Miles Sanders?
Oh man. I don't know. Miles. Every time Miles Sanders touches the ball, it seems to me like he gets 7 to 10 yards. He just never gets to touch the damn ball because
And every
I
time
don't know.
Gainwell touches the ball, he scores.
Well, I mean, true.
That boy, he just gets it and
I
goes.
think I think the real point that needs to be made here is that both of these guys should be getting the ball more.
Yes.
I don't know what they did to Nick Sirianni. Did they like sleep with his wife or something? Like, he hates his running backs. I mean, if y'all are selling, like, there's definitely some people that would take Miles Sanders off you for, a third or fourth round pick. Since you don't want to use him, Nick, if you and Howie want to get together and just, you could just let him know that you're never going to run the ball so he could just trade Miles Sanders to somebody. I'm sure there's more than one team that would jump at the bit to go get him. So I think you got two talented running backs that are completely underused by your stooge of a head coach, Nick Sirianni. That's my take on your offense.
And my last question, would Gardner Minshew be your starting quarterback?
Yes. Minshew Mania, baby. I would let Minshew Mania run wild. I think even if you bench Jalen just for a week, just to let him know, like, dude, it's not cutting it. At this point, he, like you said earlier, I feel like he's almost regressed on a week-to-week basis. So what can it hurt at this point? They're not winning games with Jalen. I mean, if you look at his stats, you might think that he's playing better than he really is. I think he gets a lot of garbage time yards and garbage time points. Like you said earlier, the Eagles have scored a lot in garbage time in these games when they're getting blown out, early. So, with that being said, I'll ride with my boy Gardner Minshew. Let Minshew Mania run wild on Philly. The Philadelphia fans will 100% embrace it. I almost guarantee.
Yeah, well, there's a report that came out from somebody who's close to the Eagles on the inside that Jalen is just a start or two away from being removed as a starting quarterback if he continues to play the way that he's played the last 2 or 3 weeks. So that's why I'm saying, they lose to Detroit bad this week. You see Gardner Minshew the next week, and then, Gardner comes in and beats the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't think it happens that way, but, one can dream. So,
I mean, I'm gonna need to see him grow the mullet back out and get the stash going again if he becomes a starter. I mean, I just can't have this like cleaned up version of him. Doesn't do it for me. I need Uncle Rico's look-alike on the field. That's part of the Minshew charm, I believe. So, but yeah, I would think at this point it can't hurt the Eagles to try and roll with Minshew and see what you might have there. He's also a young guy, so it's not like you're benching Jalen for like a 3,900-year-old Joe Flacco. You're benching Jalen for a dude that's just about as young as he is. So it's
who
not like
could be your franchise quarterback.
What happens. Yeah, it's not out of line. I mean, he looked pretty dang good with a really not good Jacksonville team. So, he might look he might look better than Jalen with this team. I mean, I don't think it hurts to see. So, hurts to see.
I see what you did there. So
Yeah,
with that,
I mean, Jalen, it hurts to